My name's Nick Harland, and my wife's name is Erica. I'm not a big guy, 5'10" and maybe 165 pounds soaking wet, but I've got my strengths. Always have. We met in college. I was 23. She was 21. I was juggling army duties while double majoring in economics and accounting. Erica was deep into biology labs, lectures, late nights. She was brilliant. My service wasn't constant deployment to war zones, but that didn't make it safe. Our unit specialized in precision work, individual assignments, missions that didn't make headlines. Sometimes we eliminated threats. Sometimes we were the shadow people feared. My specialty? Planning and close combat, up close and personal. I finished my degrees at 25 and left the Army 2 years later. Married Erica. 4 years later, we had 2 girls, Amy and Katie. I built a home-based career doing accounting for local businesses. Did some remote sales too. Erica stayed home with the kids for years. Then, on our 10th anniversary, she took a position at a nearby lab tied to the college. The girls were in school by then, and since I worked from home, the timing was perfect. We lived in the house I grew up in. I'd bought it from my parents when they retired and moved to Florida. Thanks to a few well-compensated Army Ops rewards split 10 ways, I had the funds to make it all work. Then came the night that broke everything. It was late February. We made dinner plans with our neighbors, 4 couples total, 8 of us for food and dancing. We'd all booked sitters and reserved rooms at a hotel attached to the dance club. Erica had on this blue silk dress that made heads turn. She's 5'6", slim, brunette, elegant, effortless. Dinner was great. The music was loud, the drinks were strong, and the floor was full. We were laughing, dancing, enjoying the rare night away from the routine. That's when 6 people came in, a mix of loud laughter and swagger. One of them was a tall, broad-shouldered blonde guy, Tyler Nash, a professional midfielder for the city's soccer team. The women at our table practically snapped their necks, turning to look. He was with a tall, Barbie-type blonde, complete with a huge rock on her finger. They danced like they were used to being watched. Our friend Melissa whispered she was one of the team's cheerleaders and engaged to Tyler. Typical power couple vibes. But then Tyler looked straight at our table. His eyes found Erica. He didn't glance at anyone else, just her. He stood, walked right over like he owned the place, and asked her to dance. Didn't even acknowledge me. I instinctively reached out, laid a hand on Erica's shoulder. She stood anyway, didn't say a word, didn't even glance back. She just went with him. I was stunned. No, I was pissed. But I stayed seated, watching like a fool while they danced. 2 fast numbers, and then came the slow one. That's when Erica melted into him, her body, her smile, everything. Like they'd been doing this forever. Like I wasn't even in the room. I stood, walked straight past them to the bar. The women at our table shot me disapproving looks. I didn't care. Erica didn't even notice me. I ordered a black coffee, needed something to anchor me. When the slow song ended, she came back to the table, laughing like nothing had happened. I stayed put, sipping my coffee, watching her glance around for me. Her eyes finally landed on me. Her smile dimmed. She sat beside Melissa. I walked over. As I approached, they both stood reflexively, like I was an authority figure again. I asked, "Did you have fun?" Erica gave this sheepish half-smile. "Sorry, I might have gotten a little carried away." "Maybe so," Melissa chimed in quickly. "Nick, it was just a dance. Nothing serious." I looked at them both. "It was insulting to me," I said flatly. And I meant every word. I said it was insulting. I repeated, lowering myself into the chair. Erica gave a little shrug. "Melissa and I are going to the ladies' room. We'll be right back." And just like that, she turned and walked off. Tyler slipped out the front door behind them without the blonde. Melissa returned alone. I stood up. "Where's Erica?" She hesitated. "Nick, she's not here. She left with Tyler." I blinked. "You're kidding." But I already knew she wasn't. I bolted for the front doors. my heart in my throat. Sure enough, there she was climbing into the passenger seat of a cherry red Escalade. It pulled away smoothly, without urgency. Like it was routine. I walked back to the table like a ghost. Melissa was already explaining something to the others. My voice cut through the chatter. Did all of you know what she was planning? Melissa looked genuinely sorry, but that only pissed me off more. Nick, she said gently, you have to let her go tonight. She'll come back tomorrow. She just needs this. Number, absolutely not. My jaw clenched. Tell her when you talk to her. We're done. There's no coming back. Gasps, disapproval, a wave of, Nick, come on, and that's too far. The whole damn table turned on me like I was the one who crossed the line. You're all dead to me, I snapped, pushing back from the table. Every one of you. You knew. Not one of you said a thing. I could have stopped her. Now she's going to lose everything for a night of sex. I stormed toward the lobby, emotions flooding every inch of my body. Rage, humiliation, a strange numbness setting in like armor. That's when I spotted the blonde Tyler's fiancé, crying quietly at a corner table with the other hangers, on from his group. I walked up to her. You, his girlfriend? She looked up, mascara streaked. I was. Not anymore. Where'd they go? To our house, Cherry Lane. Her voice cracked. He promised me. He said once we were engaged, he'd never do this again. Was that my wife? She nodded slowly. Was, I said. Past tense. He'll be done with her by morning. He gets off on rubbing it in the husband's face. What an idiot. That was apparently too much for two of the guys nearby. One black, one white, both jacked. They stood up like they were ready to throw down. I didn't flinch, didn't care. I ignored them completely. I handed the blonde, her name was Chloe, I think my business card. Call me, I said softly. She nodded through tears. I walked out. I grabbed my coat, deliberately leaving Erica's on the back of her chair. Back in the hotel room, I took only my suitcase. Left hers behind. Cold. Final. As I drove home, a calm settled over me. Not peace calculation. I'd been here before. This exact feeling. A betrayal. An enemy in disguise. In the army, that instinct had kept me alive. Too bad it hadn't kicked in an hour earlier. Back home, I pulled into the garage and hit the security system. Inside, everything was silent, eerily so. I walked downstairs into the basement and retrieved something I hadn't touched in years, a thick coil of rope. I undressed, changed into all black hoodie, dark sweatpants, old sneakers, 2 pairs of gloves, and a balaclava. I moved like muscle memory had taken over, up to the attic. Tied off the rope to the beam, the same way I used to climb down as a kid. Slipped out the tiny window, shimmied down the wall, dropped silently into the trees beyond the backyard. My feet hit the forest path. Cold air cut into my lungs. I moved fast, the silence roaring in my ears. I hit the workshop, grabbed a backpack, stuffed it with essentials, wool socks, a pocket knife, an old hand axe buried deep in the tool chest. Then I got on my bike and pedaled like hell, cutting through the small forest toward the river, across the bridge, onto Cherry Lane. It wasn't hard to spot the house. Big, loud, a football statue on the lawn, red Escalade gleaming in the driveway like a trophy. I ditched the bike in the trees, slipped the axe and knife from the pack, hopped the fence. My heart beat steady. No panic, just clarity. I shattered the passenger window of the SUV with a sharp crack. The alarm screamed to life. Then I sprinted up to the porch and ducked behind a wide pillar. Didn't have to wait long. The porch light flipped on. Tyler in a damn robe stepped out, annoyed, clicking the key fob to kill the alarm. In his hand, a pistol. He didn't see me. One step forward, cracked the axe, caught him behind the ear. He dropped with a grunt, crawling instinctively, trying to lift the gun. I raised the axe with both hands. No hesitation. And brought it down again. I brought the axe down again, clean and final. Then I stood over him for a second. Just one heartbeat. One moment of stillness. Then I turned, stepped back inside the house, and gently pulled the door shut behind me. The silence inside was suffocating. I didn't linger. I pivoted, ran. I vaulted over the stone wall, hit the ground running, and sprinted back to where I'd left my bike. My pulse thudded in my neck, but my breathing was steady, focused. I slipped the axe, the knife, gloves, and sneakers into the backpack, added my used socks, zipped it up tight. Then I pulled on fresh wool socks, jumped into the saddle, and pedaled hard toward the river. When I reached the bridge, I paused just long enough to hurl the pack everything into the swollen current. The storm the day before had swelled the water levels, fast and wide. The bag vanished almost instantly. No ceremony, just gone. I turned back, rode toward the house, cutting again through the familiar woods, back to the workshop. Once inside, I swapped socks for a dry pair and put on a different set of sneakers. Then I sprayed the bike handles and pedals down with ammonia, wiped everything, grips, seat, even the chain. I ran back through the trees, scaled the fence, and approached the side of the house. Climbing back up was harder than I remembered, but I managed. I squeezed through the attic window, careful not to touch anything unnecessarily. Once inside, I pulled in the rope, rolled it up tight, and wiped the window frame clean. Then I raced down to the basement. Every layer came off: hoodie, sweats, mask, gloves. Straight into the washing machine. I set it to heavy wash, double rinse. Then I hit the shower. I scrubbed myself raw in the basement bathroom. Twice. Hair, skin, under fingernails. Every inch. When I was done, I changed into gym shorts and headed upstairs. I left the basement door cracked so I could hear the washer when it finished. I slipped into the same outfit I'd worn to the club earlier. Normal, familiar. Then, once the wash cycle ended, I transferred everything to the dryer and hit start. Upstairs, I made myself a plate of crackers and cheese and poured a double whiskey. I sat at the kitchen table, the glass sweat in my hand. I didn't think about what I'd done. I thought about what came next. When the dryer buzzed, I folded every piece of clothing and returned each item to its proper place. The balaclava went deep into the back of the closet, where it had lived for years, untouched. I glanced at the clock. 2:50 a.m. All of it from re-entering the house to now had taken just under 3 hours. 3 hours to erase a man from the world. I sank into the couch, poured another drink, and finally let myself breathe. The emotional weight hadn't hit me yet. It would, but not then, not yet. I must have dozed off at some point, because the next thing I knew, the doorbell rang, a sharp chime that cut through my fogged brain like a blade. 6:02 a.m. I looked at the display screen. 2 figures, a black woman and a white man, both in plain clothes, cops. You can smell it on them. The doorbell rang again. I opened it, doing my best impression of a sleepy husband, confused by an early wake-up call. "Who are you?" I asked, squinting. "You look like cops." "I'm Detective Harris, and this is Detective Reed," the black woman said calmly. They both showed their badges. I blinked, putting on a show of bewildered concern. "Is this about Erica? Did he hurt her?" "No, sir," Reed said. "She wasn't physically harmed. But Mr. Nash was attacked." My stomach didn't so much as flinch. "Come in." They stepped inside. I gestured toward the couch. "Sit, please." They chose separate upright chairs instead. Power move. I sank into the sofa, casual. "So, you want to tell me what this is about? What have you been doing since your wife left the club with Mr. Nash?" Reed asked, voice even. I shrugged. Slowly. After she left, I went back to our hotel room, grabbed my stuff, checked out, and came home. "I drank myself to sleep on this couch," I said, rubbing my temples for effect. "You two are the ones who woke me up." "Anyone else here?" Reed asked. "Number? The girls are with the nanny for the night. I'm alone." "You make any phone calls? Text anyone? Anything to prove you were here?" "Nope. I said plainly. Didn't leave, though. Detective Harris glanced around the living room. I see you've got a security system. What's it cover? All the doors, I answered. Front, side, and the patio in the back. She raised an eyebrow. You think it can prove your alibi? Yeah, I said, already rising. Let me show you. I led them upstairs to the office. Saturday at my desk, pulled up the security interface. My fingers moved like a man with nothing to hide. I showed them how to access the log timestamps, motion sensors, door triggers. Here, I said, scrolling through, from 6 p.m. last night until you two showed up. Harris leaned in. Reed hovered behind her, arms crossed. The data clearly showed no doors opening or closing. Not one entry or exit since I came back. It covers 3 access points, I explained. Front door, side door, and the patio slider out back. The 4th wall facing the wood chaz, no door. Just 2 sealed windows. No surveillance on that side. Reed straightened. We'll need to take the computer. I glanced up, keeping my voice calm. Why? You just saw me download the data, right in front of you. You could have altered it before we got here, he said. Okay, but this is a work computer. I can't give it up for more than a day. I've got a backup, but it's a piece of junk. Look, I pulled a portable hard drive from the drawer. I'll copy everything onto this, the whole log, raw data, time-stamped. You can verify it all. They nodded, and I started the transfer. After that, they wanted to look around. I agreed, but made it clear they had to stick together and stay with me. No solo snooping. I wasn't going to let them tear through my house like they owned it. They took a few photos, door locks, camera placements, timestamps on the security panel. Then they left. It was 7:10 a.m. I called Erica's parents, Victor and Ellen. They lived next door, but at the moment they were staying at their lake house. I told them everything that the police came, that Erica was in the hospital, in shock, that Tyler had been attacked. Victor was stunned, just kept muttering, I can't believe she did this. Ellen, less so. Her silence said she'd suspected something for a while. Are you going to see her? Ellen asked softly. No, I said firmly. That's why I'm calling you. I don't want anything to do with her. Not after this. I get that something bad happened, but that's on her. I'm not the one who walked out on my family for a one-night thrill. She'll need to get her stuff, Victor said. She's not coming back here, I snapped. We can arrange a pickup. She can stay the hell away. Victor sighed. Maybe you should be the one to leave for a while. Let her figure things out. No, I said. This is my house. I bought it before we got married. This isn't community property. Our kids have lived here their whole lives. He didn't argue that. Victor's a lawyer. He knew the boundaries both legal and emotional. You just need time, he said. That's what she had, I muttered. Time. And look what she did with it. The call ended with tension thick as concrete. Then I called my parents in Florida. I told them the version I could live with. They were stunned, too, not just by Erica's betrayal, but the fallout. My dad turned on the television while I was talking to him. There's news about that soccer player, he said. They're saying he was attacked, killed, at his house. I just exhaled. Yeah, not surprised. Not a minute later, the landline rang. I answered. It was Judy, Erica's cousin and one of her oldest friends. Nick, where's Erica? She asked, frantic. We just heard Tyler Nash was killed. She's in the hospital, I said flatly. In shock, according to the cops. You saw her? Number. And I don't plan to. Don't be like this, Judy snapped. She needs you. She'll never get anything from me again, I said coldly. And I meant it. I don't care if her magical little night got ruined, I told Judy. If it did, maybe it's justice. You're a pig, she snapped. Did you kill him? Did you kill Tyler? No, I replied, calm as still water. But I don't regret that he's gone. Good riddance. She hung up without another word. I went upstairs, showered again, slower this time, trying to scrape off the emotional residue that clung to me like sweat. Got dressed and headed out to pick up the girls from the babysitter. It was around 8. They hadn't heard a thing about the night before. No news, no whispers, no rumors. Just sleepy smiles and cereal crumbs. We drove home. They asked where their mom was. "I don't think she'll be around today," I said. "She's dealing with something, so it's just us for now." Then I changed the subject. Dress for soccer. We headed to the local complex for their games. Katie, my youngest, was surprisingly graceful, all focused energy and quick feet. Amy, older and more competitive, tried hard but lacked the natural ease. Still, they both played with heart, and for a few hours, I felt like a regular dad again, cheering, coaching from the sidelines, laughing when Katie celebrated a blocked shot like she'd won the World Cup. After the games, we got ice cream chocolate swirl with rainbow sprinkles, their favorite, and drove back home. That's when I checked my phone. I'd muted it earlier to focus on the girls. Now there were several messages waiting. The first was from Erica's parents, Victor and Ellen. They told me she was at St. Jude's Hospital and wasn't responsive. The second was from a hospital doctor, asking me to call as soon as possible. The third was from Judy. She said Erica had been taken to the police station but wasn't saying a word, just sat there like a broken doll. Then they transferred her to the hospital. She told me I needed to stop being so cold and bring the girls. I took a breath and sat the girls down. "Your mom's in the hospital," I said gently. She wasn't hurt physically, but something happened. Something that left her really shaken up. They stared at me, confused. "What happened?" Amy asked. I hesitated, then decided not to sugarcoat it. "She went with a famous soccer player to his house last night, to sleep with him. I know that's a hard thing to hear, but I wanted you to know the truth. While she was there, something happened. Someone attacked him, not her. She's in shock." They both went quiet. Katie's voice was barely a whisper. "She did what?" Amy stared at me, expression unreadable. I stood up. "Go get dressed. We're going to see her." I called the doctor back. Her name was Dr. Laura Thompson, a psychiatrist in her late 40s. Her voice was calm but tired. "She's catatonic," she said. "Completely shut down. I don't think she's even aware of her surroundings." "Would bringing the kids help?" I asked. She hesitated. "Are you planning to visit her?" "I don't want to see her. At all. I assume you know why. But I'll bring the girls if you think it might do any good." "Do they understand what happened? The surrounding circumstances?" "You mean the affair?" I said. "Yeah, I told them." There was a long pause. "Okay," she finally said. "Meet me in room 31. Give me 30 minutes. We arrived at the hospital and met Dr. Thompson in the hallway. She looked over the girls, then turned to me. "Let's try. If there's anything that can reach her, it's them." I walked them to the doorway and opened it gently. Erica was sitting upright in bed, hospital gown loose around her shoulders, staring blankly at a television screen playing muted cartoons. Her eyes didn't move. Her hands didn't twitch. Amy approached first. She touched her mother's hand softly. "Mom?" she said. Katie followed, standing beside her sister, eyes wide and fearful. No response, not even a blink. Katie's bottom lip trembled. Then the tears came. I stepped forward, pulled her into my arms, held her close. I looked at Erica. Still nothing. I gently reached for Amy's hand. "Let's go." She nodded silently. As we walked out, I glanced one last time at Erica, still frozen in place. "Well," I said quietly, "we tried." "Will she wake up?" Amy asked, her voice breaking. "Of course," I said, my throat tight. "Someday." "I don't care if her magical little night got ruined," I told Judy. "If it did, maybe it's justice." "You're a pig," she snapped. "Did you kill him? Did you kill Tyler?" "No," I replied, calm as still water. "But I don't regret that he's gone. Good riddance." She hung up without another word. I went upstairs, Showered again, slower this time, trying to scrape off the emotional residue that clung to me like sweat. Got dressed and headed out to pick up the girls from the babysitter. It was around 8. They hadn't heard a thing about the night before. No news, no whispers, no rumors. Just sleepy smiles and cereal crumbs. We drove home. They asked where their mom was. "I don't think she'll be around today," I said. "She's dealing with something, so it's just us for now." Then I changed the subject. Dress for soccer. We headed to the local complex for their games. Katie, my youngest, was surprisingly graceful, all focused energy and quick feet. Amy, older and more competitive, tried hard but lacked the natural ease. Still, they both played with heart, and for a few hours, I felt like a regular dad again, cheering, coaching from the sidelines, laughing when Katie celebrated a blocked shot like she'd won the World Cup. After the games, we got ice cream chocolate swirl with rainbow sprinkles, their favorite, and drove back home. That's when I checked my phone. I'd muted it earlier to focus on the girls. Now there were several messages waiting. The first was from Erica's parents, Victor and Ellen. They told me she was at St. Jude's Hospital and wasn't responsive. The second was from a hospital doctor, asking me to call as soon as possible. The third was from Judy. She said Erica had been taken to the police station but wasn't saying a word, just sat there like a broken doll. Then they transferred her to the hospital. She told me I needed to stop being so cold and bring the girls. I took a breath and sat the girls down. "Your mom's in the hospital," I said gently. She wasn't hurt physically, but something happened, something that left her really shaken up. They stared at me, confused. "What happened?" Amy asked. I hesitated, then decided not to sugarcoat it. "She went with a famous soccer player to his house last night, to sleep with him. I know that's a hard thing to hear, but I wanted you to know the truth. While she was there, something happened. Someone attacked him. Not her. She's in shock." They both went quiet. Katie's voice was barely a whisper. "She did what?" Amy stared at me, expression unreadable. I stood up. "Go get dressed. We're going to see her." I called the doctor back. Her name was Dr. Laura Thompson, a psychiatrist in her late 40s. Her voice was calm but tired. "She's catatonic," she said. "Completely shut down. I don't think she's even aware of her surroundings." "Would bringing the kids help?" I asked. She hesitated. "Are you planning to visit her?" "I don't want to see her. At all. I assume you know why, but I'll bring the girls if you think it might do any good." "Do they understand what happened? The surrounding circumstances?" "You mean the affair?" I said. "Yeah, I told them." There was a long pause. "Okay," she finally said. "Meet me in room 31. Give me 30 minutes. We arrived at the hospital and met Dr. Thompson in the hallway. She looked over the girls, then turned to me. "Let's try. If there's anything that can reach her, it's them." I walked them to the doorway and opened it gently. Erica was sitting upright in bed, hospital gown loose around her shoulders, staring blankly at a television screen playing muted cartoons. Her eyes didn't move. Her hands didn't twitch. Amy approached first. She touched her mother's hand softly. "Mom," she said. Katie followed, standing beside her sister, eyes wide and fearful. No response. Not even a blink. Katie's bottom lip trembled. Then the tears came. I stepped forward, pulled her into my arms, held her close. I looked at Erica. Still nothing. I gently reached for Amy's hand. "Let's go." She nodded silently. As we walked out, I glanced one last time at Erica, still frozen in place. "Well," I said quietly, "we tried." "Will she wake up?" Amy asked, her voice breaking. "Of course," I said, my throat tight. "Someday. Maybe you can visit her again soon," I told the girls as we left the hospital. "Maybe when she comes to her senses, she'll want to see you." "But what if she doesn't wake up?" Katie whispered from the back seat. "She will," I said, trying to sound more certain than I felt. "I know it. It just might take time." Dr. Thompson had promised. I'll let you know the moment she starts responding. The girls nodded, but they were quiet. Both were crying by the time we got to the car. I kept checking the rearview mirror, watching their faces collapse and harden, over and over. The guilt hit me then, not over what I'd done to Tyler, but for dragging them into this nightmare. Maybe I shouldn't have taken them to see her, but part of me needed to know if she was really broken, not just physically, spiritually. And part of me, against all logic, hoped their presence would snap her out of it. Despite everything, I didn't want her to suffer like this. Not like this. Even if she deserved the heartbreak, the betrayal, the humiliation, I hadn't wanted her soul shattered. Back home, I wiped my eyes quickly in the kitchen, not wanting the girls to see. I made them scrambled eggs and toast, forced myself to act normal. I even pretended I needed help with the eggs. Gave each of them a job: stir the bowl, butter the toast. It seemed to lift their spirits, gave them something to control, something to do. Even Katie smiled when I accidentally dropped a shell into the pan and made a show of fishing it out. After breakfast, I put on a movie for them in the living room, some animated comfort zone. Then I went into my office and shut the door. Called my friend Darren, a public defender with more access than most people realized. Can you find out what happened at Tyler's house? I asked. Official reports are sealed for now, he said. But there might be a back door. Ambulance mileage logs are public. Could give us a window. Please check, I said. Let me know what you find. An hour later, he called back. I sent you an email. Shows the ambulance route, call time, and pickup. Lines up with what you told me. I told him about the police visit earlier that morning. If your security system shows no one came in or out, he said, you're probably fine. But they might still come back with a search warrant or want another conversation. You think I need a lawyer? He paused. Better to have one and not need it. I didn't argue. After the call, I finally opened the email. The ambulance had been called just after 2 a.m. Tyler was pronounced dead at the scene. Erica had been found in a thin robe, sitting on the ground, cradling his head in her lap, covered in his blood, repeating the same word again and again. Number, no. Unresponsive. Catatonic. The cops had to lift her into the ambulance. She didn't say a word. The whole ride to the hospital, despite a detective riding with her, asking questions. The image gutted me. Not because I felt sorry for her exactly, but because I knew how shock could wreck a person. I'd seen it in war, seen it in the mirror. I started researching again: PTSD, catatonia, neurological shutdowns triggered by trauma. I'd read about this before, years ago, for myself, but now I studied it like I was preparing for a case. She'd probably recover, someday, but she wouldn't be the same. By Sunday night, I had an appointment lined up with a lawyer named Riley Moore. Darren recommended her, said she was sharp and knew how to handle pressure. She gave me her cell and told me to call if the police showed up again before our Monday morning meeting. They didn't. Sunday, the girls and I stayed in, played board games, made pancakes for dinner. I tried to give them pieces of a normal life again, even as the storm raged outside our little bubble. I kept telling them quietly, gently, that their mom might come back someday, that she'd still need our help. But in my own mind, I kept circling back to one terrifying question. When Erica woke up, what would she remember? Had she seen anything? Had she looked out that window just in time? Would she think it was me? Could she? In my heart, I didn't think she could believe I was capable of doing what I'd actually done. But then again, how well did she ever really know me? Monday morning, I got the girls ready and took them to school, like nothing had changed. I kept my eyes glued to local news coverage of Tyler Nash's murder, watching it evolve hour by hour. Erica's name hadn't been mentioned not yet, but reports were already saying he was entertaining a married woman when the attack happened. A neighbor had called the police after hearing a woman screaming. That was all. So far, only the authorities knew that the woman was Erica, that the husband in question was me. But I knew that wouldn't last. Secrets like that have short expiration dates. Monday morning, I met with Riley Moore, the lawyer Darren had connected me with. She was sharp, stylish, and had this quiet intensity that didn't leave room for small talk. Late 40s, blonde, with a look that said she'd seen every kind of man walk into her office guilty, innocent, somewhere in between. I told her everything, from the night of the club to the visit from the detectives to the hospital. I even handed her the ambulance log. When I finished, she sat still for a moment, just stared at me, not blinking. Finally, I said, "Look, the cops already reviewed my home surveillance. It's clean, untouched, shows nobody entering or exiting from the time I came home until they showed up the next morning." She exhaled slowly. "Do you need your computer back?" "Yeah, it's my work laptop." She nodded and grabbed her phone. "Detective Harris, this is Riley Moore," she said, putting the call on speaker. "I'm calling on behalf of Nick Harland. I'd like to arrange the return of his work computer. I assume you've already confirmed no data was altered?" A pause. Then Harris said, "We've reviewed the logs. They appear intact. We'll send someone tomorrow morning." "No," Riley said. "He'll pick it up. It's sensitive equipment." Another pause. "Fine. Tell him to be here at 9. After she hung up, I told her I wasn't planning to speak to the police without her. If they did try anything, I'd record everything on my phone. "Smart," she said. "Stay ahead of them." That afternoon, I went home. The girls had just returned from school. First thing they did was ask about Erica. "I called the doctor," I said. "She's still unresponsive. No real change." They nodded, disappointed but used to the answer by now. They settled into homework while I ordered pizza. We all sat on the couch to eat. "If your mom doesn't come home soon," I said between bites, "I guess I'll have to learn to cook." Katie snorted. "You don't even know how to microwave leftovers." "Hey, I make amazing cereal," I joked. They laughed. The moment was light, if only for a second. Later, after Katie had gone upstairs, Amy lingered behind. She looked hesitant, twisting a napkin in her fingers. "Can you forgive her?" she asked. "For what she did with that guy?" I didn't answer right away. Just looked at my daughter, strong, quiet, too wise for her age daughter, and felt something in my chest pull tight. "Maybe," I said. "I don't know. Right now, I just want her to get better." As if the universe couldn't leave us in peace for even a moment, the landline rang. "This is Nick Harland," I answered. "Mr. Harland, this is Rick Fallon from the Tribune." My pulse spiked. "We've received information that your wife, Erica, was with Tyler Nash when he was killed. Can you confirm that?" My voice went cold. "If this gets published, my kids are the ones who'll pay the price. They go to school. They have lives. Keep them out of this." "So you're confirming?" "Number, I'm telling you to tread carefully. If anything, you print causes harm to my daughters or their well-being, I'll take legal action against you and your entire paper." "Mr. Harland, it's going to come out. There's nothing I can do." I looked out the window and saw the television truck parked right in front of the house channel, 7 plastered across the side. "I see your van already," I said. "Great timing." "I'm sorry, I hung up." Moments later, a knock rattled the front door. I checked the porch camera. A young woman stood outside, gripping a microphone, her breath fogging up in the cold. I pressed the intercom button. "You're trespassing," I said sharply. "Get off my property, or I'm calling the police." "Mr. Harland, is your wife inside? Does she have a statement?" Click. I called the local department. Gritting my teeth, I told them what was going on. I told the dispatcher I needed help getting the press off my porch. They showed up within 10 minutes and did what they could, shoot away the 6 people already camped out, cameras in hand, shouting at my windows. But they didn't go far. 4 news trucks stayed parked along the curb like buzzards circling a carcass. I called Dr. Thompson next, warning her to make sure Erica was protected at the hospital. If the media figured out she was still there, they'd hound her like they were hounding us. The doctor promised to take extra precautions. That night, I sat the girls down. "I'm thinking maybe we should stay somewhere else for a while," I told them. "We could do homeschooling, just until things settled down." Amy looked skeptical. Katie shook her head. "We want to stay in school," Amy said quietly, "even if we have to live somewhere else for a bit." "I'll think about it," I told them. "Promise." After they went to bed, I called Riley and asked if we could do anything to calm the press frenzy. "I can draft a statement," she said. "No guarantees, but it might cool things off." We released it the next morning through her office. It was carefully worded, legally tight, emotionally neutral. It said my family requested privacy. That we asked the media to allow Erica to resume her daily life undisturbed. That I would not comment on any rumors involving my wife, now or in the future. And it made clear that any continued harassment of our home or children would lead to legal consequences. It didn't make the press vanish, but it stopped them from banging on my door. For now. That evening, the police held a press conference. I sat on the couch alone and watched it live. Detective Harris stood beside a stern-faced man, introduced as Chief Johnson. Cameras clicked non-stop. Tyler Nash was attacked outside his residence and died from wounds inflicted by a sharp object, Harris began. There was a woman in the home at the time, she continued, but we have no indication that she witnessed the attack. The questions came fast. Was the woman married? Yes, Harris said. I assume most of you already know her name. We've conducted a thorough investigation into her husband. There is no evidence that he was involved. All data suggests he remained at his residence, some distance from the scene, throughout the night. Another reporter stood. We've heard rumors Nash often seduced married women. Are you investigating that angle? We've looked into it, Harris said evenly. And yes, there's some truth to those allegations. He had a pattern. Several incidents involved women leaving with him while their spouses were present. We're exploring those histories. Chief Johnson stepped forward. That's all for now, he said. We'll provide more details at our next briefing Wednesday. The room erupted with more questions, but the press team was already exiting. Afterward, I called the girls' school, arranged for their assignments to be delivered digitally for the rest of the week. I figured if they had to be stuck inside with me, they might as well keep up with schoolwork and a semblance of structure. Then I called Victor and Ellen to give them a heads up about the media, told them to be careful, just in case anyone showed up at their house. But so far, no reporters had gone that far. Their place was off the radar. By Tuesday morning, we got the first real shift. Dr. Thompson called to say Erica was beginning to respond slowly, but definitely. The police were already with her, trying to get some kind of statement. I relayed the news to her parents and quickly got the girls ready. By the time we reached the hospital, Harris and another officer were walking down the hallway, their notepads tucked away. I'd like to talk to you after you've seen her, Harris told me. I nodded, unsure of what exactly she expected me to say. I know, Victor said, but still, you've been together so long. I looked down, my voice flat. Yeah, but I keep asking myself, have we really loved each other that long? Or were we just orbiting each other out of habit? If she loved me, I continued, she wouldn't have done this. And now she's saying they didn't have sex. How the hell am I supposed to believe that? She was at his place for what, 2 hours? Naked in bed? Victor sighed. Does it even matter? You know what would have happened. Yeah, but it might have made a difference if he wore protection. What if she got something? Or worse, what if she's pregnant? The thought made my skin crawl. He didn't say much after that, just nodded slowly. She can stay here for now, I added, but you and Ellen should probably help her figure out a different living situation soon. We went back inside. Saturday down with the kids and Erica. Someone had ordered pizza. We all ate like it was a normal Tuesday night. Her parents didn't bring up Tyler. If they did, it was in private. Around the girls, it was all board games and small talk. Later that evening, as we were putting the kids to bed, Amy suddenly asked the question none of us were ready for. Mom, Why did you go to have sex with him? Erica looked stunned. Her voice trembled as she answered. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. I still don't even understand why. He was just a football player, that's all. Amy looked at her like she didn't buy a word of it. He's not Dad, she said. Not even close. No, he's not, Erica said quietly. And I'll talk to you more about it, when I can explain it better. The girls went to bed. A while later, Erica went downstairs to the kitchen. I stayed upstairs for a bit, but curiosity or maybe something darker pulled me after her. When I came down, she was sitting at the counter, sipping a Pepsi. Alcohol was off the table now. Doctor's orders. Too risky. I assume you're not sleeping in our room? She asked without turning around. Number, I'm in the office. Well, you're welcome back. Anytime. We'll see, I said. Right now, I don't see a path forward. This all just happened. I'm still processing it. I can be patient, she said. I didn't even realize how much I'd broken until it was too late. I didn't respond. I went back upstairs, lay in bed fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling until I gave up on sleep entirely. I was up by 5 a.m., brewing coffee and checking my email. There it was, an attachment from Darren. The autopsy report. I opened it, heart pounding. Tyler Nash had died from massive trauma to the head. Blunt force. Deep lacerations. What caught my eye, though, was buried in the toxicology and evidence section. Traces of ejaculate and female secretions were found. Samples had already been sent for lab analysis. So much for, we didn't have sex. I never believed her anyway. The timeline never made sense. She was there for hours before the attack. What else could they have been doing? When she finally came down that night, it was nearly dawn. I had already taken the girls to school. They were quiet, withdrawn, not a word during the drive. If it weren't for Erica's mental state, I would have never let her back under the same roof. But the girls needed stability. They needed both parents 7 if one of them had completely shattered the foundation. Later that morning, I was standing in the entryway when another television truck pulled up in front of the house. A young reporter hopped out, camera crew in tow. She shouted, "Mr. Harland, is your wife here? Have you forgiven her?" I smiled without warmth, waved like a politician, and called out, "Do not step on my property." Then I went inside. Erica was in the kitchen, baking cookies of all things, trying to pretend we were still a family. She held one out to me. I took it. It was warm. It tasted like nothing. "There's another news truck outside," I said. "They don't know you're here. Maybe they shouldn't." She sat down across from me, hands clasped in her lap. "What do they want?" she asked. "They already published my name. They've guessed most of what happened. Now they'll spin the rest. Can they do more harm? Probably." She looked at me with tired, defeated eyes. "What do you want to do? With me? With this?" I studied her for a long moment. "I want you to write it down," I said. "All of it. From the moment that moron walked up to us at the club to when you ended up in the hospital. Everything." She blinked. "Now? Number. But soon. If it's too hard, skip parts and come back later. Just be honest. Start writing." "I'll try," she said. That was the best she could give me. And maybe, for now, it would have to be enough. "I also need to call and check if I still have a job," Erica said suddenly, her voice coming from the other room. I raised an eyebrow. "Why would they fire you? For cheating on me?" She didn't answer right away. "Why would they even care?" I pressed. "Well," she said with a sigh, "I've been gone for a whole week. No call-ins, nothing. They might not be thrilled." She picked up her phone and stepped into the bedroom. A few minutes later, she returned. "They said I can take this week as medical leave, and next week as personal, so I'm covered." She sat at the desk in our bedroom and opened her laptop, started typing. I let her be. I went to my office and shut the door behind me. Saturday down with the autopsy file again. reviewed the notes line by line. I'd already seen what I needed to see, but something about rereading it gave me control, kept me grounded. I had requested the full lab report DNA analysis, fluids, biological trace matches. It hadn't come yet, but I knew what it would say. She lied. It was obvious, even before the report confirmed it. Her timing, her story, her body language. Now, with the forensic evidence backing it up, the lie was more than just a feeling, it was fact. She'd had sex with him, and then she watched him die. For 2 days, Erica tried her best to act normal, like we were some broken family going through an awkward patch instead of standing on the edge of collapse. She baked, cleaned, made small talk. But she hadn't asked me a single question about that night, not one. She was either too afraid to know, or already suspected the truth. Then, after dinner on the 3rd day, she walked into my home office with a printed stack of paper in her hands. "I finished it," she said. "What you asked for." She handed me the pages, Saturday down across from me, but said nothing else. I read, "Nick, forgive me for my weakness. When Tyler asked me to dance, I was flattered. No more than that. I was excited. He was charming, magnetic. Everyone in the room was looking at him, and somehow, he was looking at me. When we danced, I didn't think about anything else about you, not the kids. I just disappeared into the moment. When the slow song came on, he pulled me in close, and I didn't resist. I didn't want to. I think I would have gone with him right then and there if he'd asked. And then he did. He told me to sneak out the side door, said we'd go to his place, that I'd have the best sexual experience of my life, and I believed him. I wanted to believe him. When I got back to our table, you weren't there. Melissa suggested the ladies' room, so I went. I knew what I was doing. I knew it was wrong, but I also knew I wasn't going to stop. We went to his house. He kissed me as soon as we stepped inside, picked me up, carried me upstairs like some fantasy out of a movie. We had passionate sex. It was intense, physical, selfish. I didn't think about consequences. As we were finishing, the car alarm went off. He threw on his robe, told me to stay put. I looked out the window, but I couldn't see anything over the roof. Then I saw someone dressed in black running across the yard, jumping the fence. I went outside and saw him, Tyler, his head smashed in. I dropped to my knees. I held him. There was blood everywhere. I don't remember the rest clearly. I think I went into shock. I remember the sirens, the cops, the hospital lights, the guilt. I'm so sorry, Nick, for all of it. I love you, and I honestly don't know why I did what I did. Erica. When I looked up, she had tears streaming down her face. "Nick," she whispered, "was it you? The man I saw running?" I didn't blink, didn't flinch. "I was here. All night," I said. "Drinking, thinking about the marriage you killed, the family you broke. There was so much hate in me," I added. "But you know what the police told you. You know I have surveillance footage." "They said, yeah," she murmured. "No buts, Erica," I said sharply. "That's what they said." She stared at me. "I think Tyler didn't deserve to die." I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't he? He seduced you in front of me, took you to his bed like he'd done it 100 times before, like he planned it, turned your world upside down and smirked while doing it." Her voice cracked. "Don't, Nick." "Why not?" I said. "You want honesty? Here it is. I will never love you the same way again. Hell, maybe I won't be able to love you at all." She looked at me like I'd slapped her, and maybe I had. "I just need to know," I said, voice calm now. "Was it worth it? Was the sex worth everything you lost?" She didn't answer right away. Then, in a voice so low I barely heard it, she said, "It was impressive, but it wasn't worth this." I stood up slowly. She stayed sitting, trembling. "He's dead," she said quietly, "and I'm ruined." "No," I replied. You killed him. And I left her there, alone in the room. I don't think I'll ever be able to love you again, I said quietly. Not even a little. The man I married, he wouldn't have done what you did. Her face twisted. Was it worth it? I asked. Was the sex worth losing everything? She looked up at me with red, puffy eyes. He didn't lose anything, she muttered. The sex was impressive, but no, it wasn't worth what happened. Really? I said. Because the way you said it earlier, if he hadn't been killed, you might have come home and gone on like nothing happened. She didn't deny it, just stared at the floor. He's dead, and I'm ruined, she whispered. I stood there, cold and still. Yeah, I said. You killed him. She turned and ran from the room. I didn't chase her, but as the door slammed behind her, I muttered, No, Erica, you killed him. From that point on, whatever flicker of warmth we had left burned out. We became shadows in the same house. I didn't try to convince her of my innocence. Didn't try to explain or make amends. She didn't ask. And I sure as hell wasn't going to confess. If I did, I knew exactly what would happen. She'd run to the cops in a heartbeat. She was broken, yes, but she was still the same person who left with another man right in front of me. She couldn't be trusted. Not anymore. What cut the deepest was how she'd said it out loud. If Tyler Nash hadn't died, she would have come home the next day like nothing happened. It would have been worth it. That single night would have been worth her marriage, her daughter's trust, and everything we built. That's all I needed to hear. A few weeks later, I filed for divorce. I asked for full custody of the girls so they could stay in the only home they'd ever known. Erica still had her job, so I didn't ask for alimony or child support. I didn't care about money, I just wanted her gone. She had recovered enough to function again, and that was all I needed to insist she move out. She went to stay with her parents, and I had her served with the divorce papers while she was there. A few days later, her father called me. He was furious. She's a wreck, Victor said. Desperate. Is this really necessary? She should be desperate, I said flatly. Tell her to get a lawyer. He was quiet for a second. I didn't know who he was, angrier with me or her. What about seeing the girls? He asked. She can visit, I said. Any evening she wants, until bedtime. That's it. The next day, she showed up at 5 o'clock. I made mac and cheese. The girls were excited to see her, and for their sake, I played nice. We ate together, played board games. After bedtime, she lingered. I think we need to talk, she said. I'm not in the mood. Nick, we have to figure this out. The girls need stability. This split won't help them. They'll adapt, I said. You can find a place with a second bedroom. We'll set a schedule. I don't want a divorce, she said, her voice trembling. I know I screwed up, a huge mistake, but I love you. I stared at her, unmoved. You had sex behind my back, openly, boldly. There's no way we come back from that. Please, she whispered. Don't sob, I said sharply. Cry if you must, but do it quietly. I did feel sorry for her, but not sorry enough to forgive. We were done. The divorce went through. We settled on joint custody. Erica moved into an apartment with a second bedroom for the girls. The two of us developed a distant, functional rhythm. The only thing we discussed was the kids. Nothing more. Nothing personal. About 4 months later, I started dating again. Some women in our social circle and at work already knew I was single. It didn't take long before the attention started subtle at first, then more obvious. When Erica had the girls for the night, I'd occasionally have someone over. The flings didn't last long, but the sex was good, sometimes great. I avoided married women. A few made it pretty clear they were interested. But after everything that had happened, I had a strict rule. No cheating spouses. Not ever again. I eventually decided it was immoral sleeping with someone who belonged to someone else. I wasn't going to become the very thing I hated. Erica, for all her chaos, was still a good mother. She showed up for the girls, helped with school, and stayed engaged in their lives. But when she was alone, she unraveled. She relied heavily on antidepressants, slept way too much, and moved through life like someone underwater. Still, she held on to her job, got her work done, survived. From what the girls and her parents told me, she never dated, not once in 10 years. A decade passed. Katie left for college. Amy was prepping to start her freshman year. They'd adjusted to the custody arrangement. And honestly, they were doing okay. Both had dated in high school. Amy had a serious boyfriend in college. They were strong girls, resilient, tougher than I'd ever imagined they could be after everything. Meanwhile, I'd moved on sort of. I had been in a long-term relationship with a woman named Jenna. We met one night at a bar. She was divorced too. Her ex had taken a tech job on the West Coast and left her with 2 teenage twins. She was 35 when we met. Smart, funny, confident, and full of energy. The sex was electric. She wasn't as classically beautiful as Erica, but she had that spark. When we were out together, guys noticed her. I liked that. Not long after we started dating, I told her about the whole Tyler Nash debacle, the media mess, the hospital, the divorce. I left out the part about the axe, obviously. She didn't ask too many questions. I think she knew there was more, but chose not to dig. Eventually, her kids left for college too. That's when she moved in. The uproar around Tyler Nash's death had faded into a cold case file. No arrests, no suspects. Just a sports scandal that everyone had long since stopped caring about. Then, one quiet Saturday, there was a knock at my door. It was Detective Reed, retired now, but unmistakable. Same buzz cut, same controlled calm. "Come in," I said, a little surprised. "What brings you here?" He stepped inside. "I retired last week. Good pension. No more paperwork. No more politics." "Congrats," I said. "But why stop by?" He looked me in the eye. No hesitation. "I just wanted you to know. I always thought you did it. That you killed him. And I also thought good. He had it coming. Though maybe not your wife." I raised my eyebrows. "Well, I didn't. But you're right about him. He got what he deserved." Reed shrugged. "I even congratulate whoever did it." "And Erica?" I asked. "Why do you say she didn't deserve it?" "Because," he said, "it was just one night. She gave in to something a lot of other married women did when that guy came around. If they had done it in private, maybe it could have been forgiven. But what he did, it was too damn brazen, too public. He made husbands watch. That was different." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I understand." He glanced around. "How's your partner?" "She's great. Captain now. Moving up fast." "Punchy girl," he said with a small smile. "Insightful." We shook hands, and he left without another word. As for Erica, she eventually made a kind of partial recovery. We'd occasionally see each other when I took Katie to school or met up for parent-teacher conferences. One day, riding back together after dropping Katie off, I glanced over and asked, "How are you really doing?" She looked out the window for a moment. "I'm fine. I have a friend, kind of a boyfriend. More like a friend with benefits." "I figured," I said. "You know I'm with Jenna." "I do," she replied. "I heard." She hesitated. "When her kids move out, are you two going to move in together?" "Probably," I said. "Yeah." She nodded, then looked down. "I wish none of this ever happened," she whispered. "We'd be empty nesters now. We could have had some real fun. I'm still sorry." "I know," I said. My voice cracked. "Me too." We both cried a little in the car, quietly. No big scene. Later, she moved in with a friend of hers, some apartment out near the edge of town. She stayed away from the spotlight, but truthfully, I don't think she ever really healed. Not fully. Not from that night. Neither did I. We both just carried it. And to this day, I've never once regretted what I did. If anything, it probably saved other marriages. Call it one of my more effective acts of public service. One bastard down. Hundreds of husbands spared. Subscribe to our channel so your second half doesn't end up like Erica. And don't forget to stick around because the next story, it makes this one look like a honeymoon.